Welcome back, everybody, to another beautiful episode. And this one, I'm super excited for her to tell this Mother Hustler's journey because I've actually never met her in person, but I feel like I'm so strongly connected to her. We met through another acquaintance and another friend, and then fate had it that we actually have so much mutual friends, and I can't believe we haven't run into each other, and we may have, but it's like so many people, wonderful people to meet in the local area. So welcome, Rukshana.
Thank you so much, Karine, for having me here. I am honored for to be on this beautiful platform and to just be here and share my journey. So thank you for having me.
You are so welcome, sister. And I'm really excited to dive deep into what happened to you, because I think what happens to us in the past is truly the driver of our future, right? And so I love hearing people's story when they were a child. So take us through that journey as a child, and how do you think that the experience in your childhood and the way that you were raised by your mom and dad, or your mom especially, if you have a really good relationship with her, I would love for you to pay tribute to her and give her some kudos as well, because those are the real mother hustlers, is the mother hustlers who raised us, that became mother hustlers as well. So I'll just give it all to you and allow you to tell that journey.
Absolutely. Again, thanks again for having this presence of me here today. So my journey started in Mozambique. I was born in Mozambique, and Mozambique is in Africa. And due to the war, my family migrated to the next country, which is called Malawi. And when we migrated at that time with a family of five, we hiked about 2 days into this country, small country, to find asylum away from the war.
Mm.
And then when we arrived in Malawi, we had stayed there about 5 years in the refugee camp, just trying to settle in, to fit in, get to know the culture. And just about when we're about settling in after 5 years, my father at that time said, it is best to move to another country, which is the next neighboring country called Zambia.
Mm.
So again, our family packed up again. At that time, we're a family of seven. We packed up all our stuff and hiked for another 2 days. We call it walking across the mountain, but I call it hiking now. We
Wow.
hiked for 2 days with no food or water, carried all our stuff or luggages on our head through the mountains, and arrived in Zambia in the refugee camp. And then we stayed there in the refugee camp until I was 15. At that time, I believe that in my teen years, that's when my life began shaping who I was going to become. I really feel it was a gift to live in that experience, because the skills that I learned from there is what shaped me as an adult. So I came to United States when I was about 15 years young with my five siblings. However, going back as an older child is I would fetch for my family. I would cook, I would clean, I would wait in line for food, sometimes not knowing if I was going to make it to the beginning of the line, if my family was going to have food. I made sure that when my father and my mother was out searching for money and doing little jobs here and there, I was responsible to take care of my siblings, my other four siblings.
Mm.
So again, that shaped me for who I have become today. But also, a little bit is I'm a survivor of sexual abuse of a family member for that long, from age 5 to age 15. So
Mm.
I had to learn through all that process to speak up and to seek my needs, to advocate for myself, because my existence was for everybody else. So it has been an incredible journey through all of that. That's, when I came to United States with that pain, with that wounds from my past, my traumas, and I started running away from all the problems, causing more harm to myself. I started, being in not healthy relationship. I met my ex-husband at that time, who gave me the beautiful gift of life. I had three beautiful children, and he's also from Africa. And through that, I learned, to be a parent and also still learning how to be a parent because now my kids are in their 20s.
Wow, girlfriend. Wow, you gave me a ton of goosebumps. And there there is something to be said with the power of adversities, right? And as I was listening to your story, and this is just scratching the surface of your story, I like I almost cried about your story because when you look at hiking and walking, and how old were you when you guys did the first one?
So I was 5 years young at the time when we left, and then I was 10 years young when we left again.
So it was 5 years. It's like 5 years at a time.
Yes, and then I was 5 years when I came to United States. I
Wow.
mean, 15.
So
I was 15 years when I came
yeah,
to.
it's like five, five, five.
Hmm.
Wow. So you talk about being the oldest that's responsible for your younger siblings. Is that right?
That
How
is,
many siblings do you have, and are you the oldest?
I have four siblings, and yes, I am the oldest.
I can connect to that because I grew up around domestic violence when I was about 5, 6, maybe even 7. I remember because I'm one of 3 sisters, but in the middle, and
Mhm.
my oldest sister, and we just actually got talking about this, and some of the things in your past, I think, kind of just get buried under there somewhere, and you forget the details. And my oldest sister, especially when you're young, like you're just confused what to believe, you know?
Yes.
And my oldest sister Daisy had brought up something that really brought back so much emotions for me, um and made me remember every freaking details in that moment, to a point where I could literally remember her face when she was young. Because as an old you might be an oldest sister, like I told her, like you may have been responsible and you felt like you were an adult, but as your younger sister, I could see your face, like right now, as a younger sister, thinking like she's not even that old. Like she's not my mom. She's not old enough to be mom, but she's acting and
Mm,
taking on that responsibility. And for her to say, like, I used to put you around my waist and then Rosie on my other hand, and we run away from danger and da 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 da. And I'm just like, you say that as if we were your children. And
yeah.
when I look at your face in my memory, I could see like you were still a baby too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. And I really feel that also it's important as we go through that trauma, it's to mother that little girl, to take care of her, to be gentle with her, especially when those memories come back. And it's hard because those are whatever it's going to trigger in life. It's important to remember that we were just a child at that time. So I can totally, and those triggers come all the time. And part of self-awareness and learning about ourselves is to continue to grow and to be gentle with ourselves, but to say, okay, I know my story now. What's next? What can I do? How can I help myself so that way I can have the tools that I have gained to help other people?
Yeah, and how can I make a positive out of it in order to change the world? And with, your mission, I could hear it a little bit, and my
Mhm.
mission is sort of aligned with each other. But um, my mission is, or my vision, actually, it's not even just a mission, but it's a big vision, is to mother the world. And it's like a twist of to change the world, but because mother and mother hustler is like so much of my making, and like I embody
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
I use to mother the world. And it's such a better word to use than change, because we already know the world is broken and it needs a lot of change, but I think it needs a mother more than anything. And
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And a mother is such a powerful word. I call it just not just a mother. A mother is also the mother earth, is how, the mother earth takes care of us. It's really evolved. It's more embodying it about this powerful nature of a mother. So I like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. So when you came to America, what happened?
So when I came to America when I was 15 years young, due to this sexual abuse, I ran away from home. And
Mm,
that's, I stopped going to school, and at that time I got married to my husband. and to seek what I was seeking as that age, I would think. And I made that decision to marry my husband and had 3 children. And then I realized I started growing and evolving. And I didn't like the husband I married because he reminded me a lot about the traumas and the sexual abuse I was reminded. So I got a divorce and I moved to Oregon, and I raised all the 3 kids here in Oregon. And at that time I was in San Diego. That's when we had migrated to San Diego.
Wow, you are a brave soul, I'm telling you.
Thank you. Thank
Tell
you.
me about your children, your 3 kids. I know they're grown. I saw some pictures when you went to Mexico.
Yes. So I have 3 beautiful kids. So my first one, she's 20. She's 23 years young. She's out in UCLA right now. And
What's
my
her name?
second, her name is Sol. And my second one, her name is Hannah, and she is 21 years young. She just turned 21, so that was perfect to take her to Mexico, and we tried a lot of margaritas. And then I have also a 19-year-old who's my son. He's in New York, who right now at this time I don't have any connection with him due to the incidents that has happened in the past.
Okay. If Sol was listening today, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that I'm so proud of her, who is she's learning to become, and learning to be open, and all the challenges she's taken on, and all the self-care she's working on herself. I'm so proud of her.
Wow.
And I love her.
Oh, of course you do.
Yeah.
How about Hannah? What would you tell 21-year-old Hannah?
Hannah has been one of my beautiful, challenging child in a good way. She tried to commit suicide when she was 16. So, and for her, I want to tell her that I love her, whatever choices she makes in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not her fault that anything that has happened to me.
Wonderful. You're such a good mama.
Thank you.
I know you don't talk to your son, but if you had a chance to tell him something, what would you say? Because technology will reach a lot of people, especially podcasting.
Absolutely. And one of the things I also do is I send him text messages, and I leave him voicemail, and I send him emails, and I send him gift cards for his special Christmas holidays. If my son is listening right now, I want to tell him that I am sorry that I wasn't the mom that he hoped me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I want a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
I want to apologize, and I love him.
Thank you for that. That's really brave for you to say, especially on a platform like this. And when I was a teenager, because I saw my mom putting up with stuff,
Mm-hmm.
As a young child in my first decade, I wanted to fix everything for her. And I was so little that I knew I couldn't. But when I became an adult, young adult, 18, 19, or even like 16, I started to really resent my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like your 19-year-old is doing, and I don't know your situation, but I want to share this because I resented her a lot because now I have a voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only that I have a voice, I still couldn't fix anything. So I was frustrated that not only that she would not listen to my voice because I care about her, but I also still couldn't do anything to fix it for her. And then in my third decade, I became a mother. And so what I want to say to you is that maybe when your son becomes a father or a dad, he will realize, or he will go through the process that I went through, which was like, I so get why my mom did what she did now, because she loved us and she is super amazing. And now I know, like, I'm just going to respect her for everything and the suffering and all the sacrifice that she did. So I just want to commend you for being strong, because I think we have to stick with one another and we have to uplift each other. And I know that that's what you now do for other women.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the journey of Rukshana and the Rukshana that you are now, and the version that you are now, because you have, I mean, I'm taking a lot of massive notes with our conversation, because this is just how I am when I'm talking to someone, because it's such an organic show.
Yeah.
And everything comes through of our conversation. And, you know, I put my own heart into every episode. It's just nice to have like some things to talk about. So there's so much that you had to go through to get to where you're at now. Take us through that journey and tell us exactly who you are now.
I would love that. So, you know, when the kid, I'm going to go back and talk about my kids and my transformation, because they were the pivotal point. So, there was a custody issue for 8 years. So every year I had to go in court, and I was a single mother. So I had my ex-husband fighting for custody and for his values of what he believed the parenting could be. And I was fighting because I believed I was a mother. I should fight for custody. And I did that for 8 years, and I didn't have any money. I was working 2 jobs, and I was going to court, and I was so frustrated. And then at that time I started dating my husband, who is at that time, he was just my boyfriend, and he saw the things that I never saw. He's like, you know, if you give him what he wants, and at that time the kids were teenagers, why don't, you know, try it and see how it's going to be? You're still going to be a mother. You're not going to, you know, change that role. So finally, I listened to him. I did that. And I said, because I was struggling, going to court. And then at that time, the kids were going back and forth. My mom lives also in the same city, and we had this triangle relationship, which was not healthy. We had one grandparent on the other side, the other parent on the other side, all were controlling the household that I lived in, and I was trying to create this environment that was peaceful and healthy. So finally, I decided that I was going to give up custody of the kids, and that's when my world shocked, because reality hit. I lost my identity. I didn't know who I was. And I felt like a failure. Everything that I had worked for, everything I believed in, all my culture that I believed in growing up. And also it did not help because my family kind of disowned me for what I did. Like I said, after 8 years of fighting, I realized that was not working. And then that's when everything shattered. I got to a point where I gained 80 pounds. I was on antidepressant. I was miserable. I had headaches. My back was hurting due to carrying the weight that my body could not take. And then I said, no more. I didn't like feeling that way. I was tired of being tired. I was tired of numbing myself for drinking and food. And then I joined a community, a walking community. After work, I would take my headlamp, put it on at 7 p.m. and go for a walk. And that inspired me to do other things. That inspired me to start my own group. And then that group became like a walking group. And then it became a hiking group. And then it became an adventure group. And then now we have 500 members in Portland. And that group expanded in Central Oregon. We have a chapter there. And I love that idea because we got together and we went for walks. We went hiking. I mean, and then little by little, the weight started decreasing. Little by little, I had confidence. And then I started sharing my story through hiking, through walking. And then it became like a healing process through hiking. I was hearing stories. I was hearing these women telling me all these stories. I mean, vulnerable. Talk about the power of vulnerability and women coming together, moving mountain after mountain, climbing mountain after mountain. And impossible things happen. And I would tell these women, I said, just try this. Go try this and try to journal, try to meditate, try to pay attention, listen to your voice, listen to your intuition, all simple things we do in mindfulness and coaching. I was giving those to without me knowing that was coaching. It became so successful. I said, how can I take this and turn it into a business? So that's when my journey started. And I said, I started implementing little by little. At that time, I was working in McMinnville, which is an hour and a half drive from Portland. And I started that transition as I was working as a parent advocate, doing workshop for parents, teaching education, helping parents get the kids from the court appointed system. And then I said, I'm going to do this for a living. I love hiking. I love listening to stories, inspiration stories, just like you. I am going to help women share their stories, to change their stories from where they come from. And then through that 1 hour and a half of driving one way and 1 hour and a half driving back, I was listening to podcasts. I was listening to books on tapes. And then eventually I had them enough money. I hired coaches. I started going to conferences. And then in 2016, I had enough clients that I was able to leave my full-time job and take it to the next level. 2016, Karina, and I'm here. So that's my journey.
Woo! You are a rock star, and I just got goosebumps after goosebumps after goosebumps, sister. Oh my gosh. Okay, where do I start? You let go of the kids, and oh my gosh, I can only imagine as a mom, but it was such an unselfish act. Have you ever realized that?
Someone told me that. I felt like a failure. And that's to the 80 pounds that I took into my body, that I felt like a failure. And shame, a lot of shame. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think so I'm going to go back to I'm like a self-love junkie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we force this life into so much stress when we could be happier and the better version of us. And I think as hard as it was to transition into like the mindset of letting go of the force because you were fighting it. And in the way that I live my life now is this, if it feels like a fight, it's not meant to be, right?
Yes.
And so you realized it, but it was still hard for you because, and this is where the coaching, you and I are coaches. This is where the coaching becomes super valuable because of the guilt and the shame. And it's like somehow it's the lowest level of emotion, but it surfaces the highest for every human being. I mean, you and I included. We're coaches with coaches too. Right?
Yes.
And so this is when the coaching is super powerful because although your future husband at that time was sort of coaching you, if it was a more structured coaching and more customized coaching straight to you, you probably would have overcame it a lot faster and let go of the guilt and shame a lot faster because somebody could tell you, it was an unselfish act because the only way you could take care of others is to take care of yourself, to take care of your feelings, to take care of your emotions. And then now look where you like, you replaced it with all the goods and now look at where you're at. And I think that this entire segment is going to teach a lot of moms and a lot of women how valuable coaches can be, especially when they're in like a massive pocket that they can't get out of, or they're prisoned by guilt and shame. So the walking community, like that gave me a goosebump too, because the reason that I talk about the childhood is I always find something in that childhood that goes full circle when we become adults. And you talk about hiking and you hiked every 5 years. Of course, you didn't hike to America.
No, that would be impossible.
But with the way that, how do you connect those two? Because I can like, I believe in the law of attraction. I believe in a lot of like things we cannot see. And just listening to your story now, that how you transition into the version that you are now I'm talking to, has really resonated with me in the connection of your hiking as a child, being a refugee from one country to another. And now it's like really what healed you. What you went through is what healed you to today.
Absolutely. And I mean, we all find ways. Everybody's going to find a way what it's going to heal them. what is worked for me will not work for someone else, And for me, it was, I felt like I was walking off the pounds. First of all, I was releasing that weight, and I was releasing that weight in my mind. That old story, hearing other people's story, gave me permission that I'm not ashamed of my story. So, it wasn't, I'm going to say this because I was reading my journals in 2013. It wasn't easy, but it had to be done. And we have to go through that mental toughness for us to grow. We have to be humble. We have to love ourselves, because I really feel to this, Karine, hardly to my soul, that when we give ourselves that permission to love, the world opens up in so many beautiful. We have so much love to love our kids. I mean, abundance flows in so much. Money comes in so much, that we have more to give to our family, our community, our country. I mean, could never afford to take one of my kids to Mexico. But, I was able to bond with my girls, to build the relationship, to show them now what, hardship was, what I felt through that journey, that now we have a healthier relationship. We have more respect for each other.
Wow. Super amazing. That hiking thing is still getting into my goosebump.
You gotta join us sometimes. We hike every weekend when I'm not working.
That's amazing. Well, I'm gonna have you tell everybody about that in the end.
Okay.
Because in the end, I want you to tell everybody, where to find you, what you're doing, and what do you want to invite people to, or if you have a free course that you want to do. So let's talk about that in the end.
Okay.
But you talked about the power of vulnerability. And I always say this, that in my live events, I call it the vulnerability party. And I'm all about the vulnerability, because this is it's full of such fakeness in this world. And the transition that you did, you plugged in a community, it's funny, because when I was in corporate America, I was blinded by the fact that those communities exist. I kind of isolated myself, and I had a lot of ego that I could do it all on my own. I've just now my journey started really in 2013, my spiritual journey, I should say, and started becoming awakened. And I talked about the books that you have in your background. And this is just not even scratching the surface of the books that I've read since 2013. And it's such an amazing journey to actually not only get to know the reality of the universe and the world, and that there is more to having a mansion and having a big house and having a successful business, or being a big shot at a company or something. That's all I had in my mindset before. I didn't have an open mindset, and I didn't have a spiritual mindset that I have now. And so if you are talking to someone that is kind of in that pocket, because you and I have been through that pocket before, and they just couldn't quite go through it, what exercise would you, because you've suggested a lot of exercise through your hiking journey, and teach people to journal, meditate. First of all, how did you learn that for yourself? And then what exercise could you give moms that are in the same pocket that you and I used to be in?
Absolutely. So one of the things I learned is we have a lot of resources. I used YouTube to learn how to meditate. And then there's a lot of apps that I had learned. I didn't know how to meditate, but I read stories and researches about meditation, how it helps with anxiety, because I was on all kinds of medication. So I learned starting with 1 minute. And then, I had a 6 months goal. If I could do 1 minute for 6 months, and then I added 2 minutes, and then another 6 months, I added 3 minutes. So I just kept working through that. When I got to the exercises, I also learned how to, to listen to my body. For anybody who has a background of sexual abuse, they numb their bodies with alcohol or food or not feeling to their body. So I had to learn how to feel, to listen to my body. So now with exercises with people, when I meet them, I ask them to close their eyes, because then their energy is more aligned with their body than their senses. They're more listening to their senses, because our eye sensors are high and they take over a lot of things around the world. So when you close up your eyes, when we close our eyes, we are more in tuned with our body, listening to their body. So if they have two things going on, I said, if you had to say yes to this or no to this, I'm going to ask you to listen to your body. When you say yes to this, how does your body feel?
Ooh, that's deep.
And if you say no to that, how does your body feel? Like paying attention to all the details, your neck, your jaws, your stomach. I mean, we forget to listen to our bodies. We are so busy with things around us. And this is not only with that exercise, yes or no, even when you're with your partner, close your eyes and hold your hands with your partner and see the energy going through you just through that moment.
Wow. When we date our husbands, or when we would date people, I'm thinking about, like, when you kiss, you close your eyes, and it's like the exchange of energy is so powerful, and it like tingles on all your body, like the whole entire body, because it's super powerful. And I love that. And I'm going to do that with my husband. So the way that I connect with my husband is we cook almost every night, not every night. And we just like have fun in the kitchen and, cook together and talk about our days and talk about life, really. And I never really thought of like doing that and just holding his hand and closing my eyes and just feel his energy. That is super amazing. I love that. And also being aligned with your body. And I think that's why Helen Keller, I don't know if you probably know with your personal development, she is super in tune with her own self, because she's blind and she has no choice but to be, right? And the way that you describe that is just so simple, yet so super powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a client this morning and she wanted to take on this big position of a job. And we did the same exercise. I said, if you had to take on this position through that closing their eyes, what does your body feel? And she's like, my stomach feels tight. My nerves are getting tighter. I'm like, okay, so we already know the answer. They're closing our eyes, but it's just it could be a simple practice that anybody can do.
Wow. Super amazing.
Yeah.
And with meditation, like I love meditating in the morning. So I wake up really early, not because everybody says you have to. I just have two boys to get to school. And when they wake up, I'm all theirs, Yeah. It's no more me time. So I have to wake up at 4 a.m. And so between 4 to 5:30, around the time they wake up, or 6 o'clock is I get to stretch. I stretch every morning. I'm actually going to give my book for free, which is Mother Hustlin' Morning, the morning routine of a mother hustler. So I'm not going to tell everybody what I do in the morning, but because then I wouldn't have anything to write in the book. And so I think it's important, and it's so simple. That's why I'm giving this for free for people, because people always wonder, like, why do you show up always 100% every day? And I've met people like yourself, and I've met people like myself who I just know they do morning routines just the way they show up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I share that how we treat our life is how we treat our partners, our businesses, our interaction, like everything. What we do every day at home reflects of how we treat our business and our relationships. Like we show up 100%. Absolutely. I believe that.
Yeah. I finished this course that's free that I'm going to be talking into like real estate offices and all those places, so I can kind of just give value around town, even though I'm already giving value with having you here, and you and I together are giving value to the world, literally to the world. when I release your episode. But it's, you know, you always want to do serve more, because it's the most happy I've ever been is when I can serve people. So it's like master your mind, master your life.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that I talk about it in there is just mastering yourself. Like, how do you show up 100% every day? Because I have bad days. Let me just be honest. You too have bad days.
Yeah.
It's not like I show up and nothing bad happens to me, because I always show up so happy and bubbly and always showing up 100%. I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but that also has a tendency. So talk about this, because I feel like it has a tendency to intimidate other women, because I've been told many times that I do that to people, which really hurts me, because it's not my intention. Because I want to touch everybody's lives, and those that feel that way pretty much isolates themselves from me supposedly being able to make a difference in their life. So talk about that, because I saw your facial expression and you're like nodding.
Yeah. So I believe this, Corinne. I really do. I said, you know, when we're at the moment we're sharing our joy or our sadness, it's, you know, there's certain people who are ready to receive that message, and there's people who are not ready to receive your message. You know, maybe that message is going to circle around, a year later or 2 months later. But I really feel like our souls, our body, our spirit, when we are in the moment, because we are so awakened, we are in the moment. Even though at that moment you are not in the moment, I really feel like sometimes I start doing a live video. I feel so depressed. I feel down. I feel things are not going accordingly how I see. But at the end of the video, I got into a momentum because passion kicked in. You know, we'll start doing a live video, and the first 3-4 minutes, my voice is like really monotone, really low, the energy. And then at the end, passion kicks in because you got a momentum going, and that's what we're here to do. And sometimes certain people are not ready to receive the message, but you know what, we need to focus our energy for those people who are ready, because us as leaders, you as well, is we are igniting leaders.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We are moving. We're doing moving, not just mom. You're giving mom permission that you can do it all. You can have a healthy relationship. You can grow. You can take your business to the next level. You can have spiritual growth. You can have health. You can have inner peace. You can have it all. We are really giving permission to moms to do that. But sometimes not all moms are ready for that.
And you can have badass friends like you.
And not all, yes.
Well, because when I had a lot of ego, and I will own that. I did have a lot of ego when I was younger, and especially when I was young with a really good position in the corporate America world.
Yeah.
But when you have a lot of ego, you're not open to a lot of like great friends like you.
Yeah.
So I always wondered why I wasn't attracting the friends that I really want. And it's because I didn't deserve them. And not only that I didn't deserve them, I also did not have the mindset to receive them. And so I'm nodding when you said that, like, you have to be okay with that. And I'm not saying when it hurts me, I'm just saying like, I could so help you. I could so change your life. Like, it's just one of those things, because we're such go-givers and go-getters.
Yeah.
That, we go into that mindset of, I could so help this person, but she's not ready for me. And so you just kind of move on from that temporary pocket. So we talk about the big pocket that we're like guilt, shame, but I still have those pockets, but they no longer grow big. They're like, I just know they're there, and then I get out of it, And so it is important to receive it too as a person. And you're right. You cannot blame yourself for somebody that's not ready to receive your message. And I had a podcast interview with someone in Australia, and she said that you can never attract people to you that you cannot serve.
That's powerful. I like that.
So some questions for you. Your mom's still around?
Yes, she is. She doesn't live far away from me.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm jealous. So, what is it that the most important lesson that you learned from your mom?
My mom had 5 kids and she worked her butt off. She really worked hard. She told me to believe in myself. She told me that you can get any job you want. You can recreate yourself to anything you want. And I saw that through my dad because, she advocated for him. She wrote resumes for him. She applied jobs for him. She, when we were coming to America, she did the interview in English, which nobody spoke English. So she
Wow.
really stepped up, especially coming from a culture where women do not have a lot of a voice and, stand up for the family. But she did a lot. She sewed for us. She hustled.
Wow.
She's a true
Mother
hustler.
hustler.
She's a true hustler, yes.
That's awesome. What would you tell her today if she was listening right now next to you?
I would tell her that I am proud for who she has become.
Uh-huh.
And I am sorry that I disappointed you as a daughter for speaking the truth.
Mm. Mm. And you guys are still like close with each other?
We're not. I haven't talked to her for probably 5 years now because I spoke the truth.
I get that because my mom's still married. I talk about my mom and she's still married to my dad. And my dad went home to the Philippines to retire and doing the same crap that he's been doing for the last 50 years. And the girls are on my mom's side. The boys are supporting not supporting, but listening to my dad. And because there's 3 and 3 of us, 3 boys, 3 girls. And my mom lives with my sister in LA. And we're all just like advocating for her and saying, girlfriends, because I could talk to my mom like that now.
Yeah.
Girlfriend, you need to take care of yourself. You've been sacrificing all your life, not only for dad, but for us. We're good now. We have our own family. We are super, like just speaking the truth to her. But I think it hurts her feelings.
Yeah.
Because an old school woman like her and your mom, it's just like to be there for their husband, no matter how good or bad they are.
Yeah.
Regardless of how good or bad they are. And so I know that she hurts because she's torn. Because we're speaking the truth and we're advocating for her and we're telling her, quit sending your money there. Like just take care of yourself. Go travel. Come visit me in the Northwest. Go visit our brother in England. Go visit your sister in Japan. I mean, you have so much to do in this world. It's your time, girlfriend. This is your time. Like I just keep saying that to my mom. And it hurts me too because that's my dad too,
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. And for me, what I've learned, Karine, is to love without judgment. And that's been really a lesson for me, just to love her for who she is, not what I want her to be, hope to be. And I think it's really hard as a judgment because we are a judgment society. We're always judging. So like, remember that I love you and I'm going to love you from a distance, even though it's hard sometimes. I'm just going to love you from here. Innocent love.
Yeah. More power to you. You're super amazing. Last question. Well, first of all, before I go to my last question, I just want to commend you for all the amazing things you're doing in the community and to the women that you help, because I think that every single one of us can make a difference in this world and nobody can do it alone. We have to lock arms and do it together and really uplift, not only lock arms, but reach down and lift those ones up that are down there when they're ready. So I commend you for stepping into who you are becoming, because we're always evolving, right? And thank you for showing up like you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. So when you heard the word mother hustler, what comes to mind? Like define it in your own words.
I'm like showing up when you don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Show up. Okay, there's days I'm in my pajamas. Just show up. Don't
I
care.
love being in my pajamas, by the way. Home for work.
It's just, I mean, sometimes I don't wanna respond to that email. I'm like, just say the truth that I don't feel like taking that, you know? Just still show up when you don't feel like it for you, you know, for your soul, for your family, for your community, for your country. So yeah, that's what Mother Hustler, even though she doesn't feel like it, she still shows up for our community, for our families and country.
Seriously, girl.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We do. And we show up as 10 people too. There's only one of us, but we show up like we're 10. I mean, we wear like so many hats and juggling everything and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So tell my listeners where we can find you. Want to hear about this community and hiking community that you do, and you're probably on Meetup and all that good stuff in Portland, Oregon. So let us know so we can find you.
Absolutely. So we are in Pacific Northwest, West say Portland, Oregon, Vancouver area. So it's called Pacific Northwest Women's Outdoor Group, and that's a free community, and you can join through Meetup. And there is, I believe, a lot of activities you could choose there from there, and you can look at the schedule at the calendar and just schedule what you're interested in. It describes all the skill level that you're at. If you're just beginning, if you're just interested to socialize, there's a lot of social events on there. And then we also have a Central Oregon Bend chapter there, which just started last August. So we're building a community there. So that's like my happy place. I look forward to hiking every weekend because I coach during the day. So I'm disconnected away from my computer or from the phone. I'm out in nature. And again, Mother Nature is our first mother. So it gives us all the, negative ions that we need.
Yeah. So this is the group that you actually started,
Yes.
all of it, founded it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And you're expanding in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, we expanded last year. And from that's last year in Bend, Oregon. And that's where I learned from all the skills the group was going successful. That's where I took the skills that I mastered and implemented into building my business, which is a women's lifestyle coaching.
That's so cool. So where can we find you for the coaching, and which social media outlet do you usually hang out in?
I use the Facebook. Yeah, it's Rukshana Triem, just like my first name and last name. Rukshana Triem is my social media platform there on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. It's under Women's Lifestyle Coaching on Instagram. And you can also find me on LinkedIn under Rukshana Triem, and under there as well, I talk a little bit about my book on LinkedIn, about conferences that I speak at, public speaking, all the stuff that I do. It's on there.
That's awesome. Well, I'll add all of them. If you can send me all the link, I'll add all of them on the podcast notes. But thank you so much for gracing us with your amazing presence today. And I really am excited for every single one of you listeners to hear this amazing woman and her journey. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Karine, for having me.